Hi, everyone. There's been a lot of chatter following a speech from Donald Trump at the Bitcoin conference. In this video, I'll share what was the comments that Donald Trump made, why does it matter, and why was it so important, and third, what is a practical impact of the speech on the future of crypto. First of all, what was this event? Donald Trump, the presidential candidate, gave a speech at the Bitcoin conference that is taking place right now in Nashville. This is a big deal. It's a big gathering of crypto maxis, but also of the broader crypto community. In this speech, there was a couple of very important points that he made, some that were already known and some that were actually fairly new. First, he mentioned on day one he's going to fire SEC Chair Gary Gensler, a news that was really very well welcomed by the attendees. Second, he said that he's going to shut down Operation Choke Point 2.0 and that what he called the anti-crypto crusade. And this is important, as we all know, the last couple of years there's been a pretty anti-crypto movement in the U.S. Third, he mentioned that he's going to set up a Bitcoin and crypto advisory council that will come up with crypto regulations in the first 100 days that he's in office. Four, he mentioned something that was already known, that he's going to ban central bank digital currencies, CBDCs. Again, this is not a surprise, but again, he reiterated at the conference. Fifth, he reinforced an interesting point, the right to self-custody. This is quite important because obviously a lot of the regulations that have been taking place over the last couple of years have been taking an anti-self-custody twist, and actually saying this, especially at the Bitcoin conference, was definitely a crowd pleaser. And number six, he really mentioned that he wanted to come up with stablecoin regulations, not to make cross-border payments easier, but in particular to reinforce the role of the US dollar. A very, very important detail. Number seven, he mentioned that he wants the US government to keep 100% of the Bitcoin that it owns. As many of you know, the US government has around 210,000 Bitcoin. It's over $10 billion that it regularly sells on the market. His goal is actually for the government to keep that. And last but not least, not a big surprise, that he wants to commute the double life sentence of Ross Albright. This is from the Silk Road. This is from a couple of years ago. This is something, again, he mentioned previously at another event, but he reinforced it. So this pretty big 8 announcement that he made, by far the most important was the fact that he wants to fire the SEC Chair Gary Gensler on day one. There's also some probably not as important, some may say stupid comments that were made. One of them was that Donald Trump took credit for the rise of the price of Bitcoin during his presidency. I would argue that's a lack of understanding of Bitcoin. If the price of Bitcoin is rising, it's often because people don't trust stocks and other assets, and thus it's going into crypto, among other reasons. But it was a very interesting point that he made during his speech. Second was that actually during the speech of Trump, it was obviously he went off script for a big chunk of it, and obviously he was reading from teleprompter on certain elements which were clearly written by somebody else, but he was very not familiar with a lot of terms, from self-custody to stable coins, even at one point mentioning to the audience if anybody has heard of the term stable coins before. And maybe I would say last, another point, number 3, was that he often referred, he mentioned actually very clear that if it's not the US is going to be a leader in crypto and Bitcoin mining, it's going to be China. But again, anybody knows who's in the crypto space knows that when it comes to the competitor to crypto to the US, is not China. China bans cryptocurrencies. China has banned Bitcoin mining for some time now. But I guess being anti-China fit into the narrative that Trump has been saying during his campaign. And maybe another fourth very interesting nuance was that during his speech, he referred often to the crypto industry and not the Bitcoin ecosystem, which is a big no-no. Anybody who's in the space, note that when you go to the Bitcoin conference, it's very Bitcoin maxi, really kind of talking about crypto and not Bitcoin is kind of frowned upon, but it is what it is. Okay, this was what he said. Overall, obviously, very powerful speech from Donald Trump, and obviously this is a speech that people will talk about over the months and years to come. Why does this matter? Very important. This is all nice and good. Why does it matter? First, it actually really shown something that is quite impressive, is that crypto matters in the US. Depending on the source of data you look at, there's anywhere from 20 to 50% of the American population that owns crypto, and most of this data is pre-ETF. So the number actually in practice may be quite higher. So when it comes to single issue voters, this is a big pool. There's a young demographic. It's a market that Trump has been lagging in. So this is one area where obviously the crypto industry now matters. And for any presidential candidate now, they need to take a stance on it. Second is actually objectively, if you're looking at areas where the U.S. can improve, the U.S. now is definitely behind when it comes to crypto. Some of the actions that the SEC has taken, the DOJ, and even arguably the White House have clearly put the U.S. way behind other countries around the world. Some of the even Democrats, Elizabeth Warren is a great example, frankly, have been using arguments that are completely outdated, and really, I would say some of their actions that they have taken have been against the best interests of the United States of America. So now this is very interesting, and this will have practical impact. First of all, what's the first practical impact is that crypto is here to stay. And now it's a matter for politicians. Every politician that comes actually wants to run will need to have a stance on crypto. Obviously, it's not as a big matter as you have when it comes to abortion or gun ownership and other topics that really rank higher for a lot of Americans. But at least this is one of the issues that you need to have a stance on. There's already websites online that track every candidate's position on the topic, which is very interesting. Of course, these are all campaign promises, but the important is actually now they need to have a view. What's been very interesting as well is that the Democrats, it's been allegedly, according to some media sources, Kamala Harris and her team have been trying to have private meetings with some of the big crypto companies in the US, Coinbase, Kraken, Ripple, and others, Circle being one of them, allegedly, according to media reports, really to try to listen to them and try to actually get some of that crypto vote. But now the reality is actually a big chunk of the crypto community's vote, whether they like it or not, will go for Trump, not only because of some of the actions and the promises they made, but overall, generally, there's a big libertarian movement in crypto, and a lot of people actually tend to, tilt more towards the right. Number two big thing to watch right now is crypto is too big to ignore. So it's very interesting for somebody like me who's been in crypto now for 10 years. In the early days, it was very easy to be anti-crypto. Nobody really cared. Nobody really paid attention to us. The fact that it's been in the United States right now, a single issue topic or something that actually politicians have to focus on is actually quite interesting. And I would say a big milestone for the crypto ecosystem. And last but not least is actually that other politicians in other countries will take note of this. As many of you know, we're going the next 12 months. There's elections in a lot of the G7 countries, G20 countries. And actually for a lot of politicians, especially those on the center, on the right, when you look at this topic, you say, hey, this is actually what I'm seeing now in the US. It's interesting that people are paying attention to it. Think about Canada, to many European countries. I would not be surprised now to see the candidates try to make their views on crypto and particular Bitcoin more public because it matters on that perspective. Okay, guys, hope this is a useful update. Again, pretty interesting development today. I suspect we'll see more and more as this U.S. campaign advances, more views on crypto, but hopefully this was a useful update to all of you. See you guys all soon for another crypto capsule commentary. See you guys soon.